Hey everyone, it's Charlie from Daily Motor, and this week we've been spending time with the 2020 Lexus RC F. This is rocking the 475 horsepower 5-liter V8, and boy, what a blast it's been to have around in this bright yellow metallic color. It's carbon fiber bits. Chris from the Topher and I were fortunate enough to take this out to Gingerman Raceway in South Haven, Michigan, toss it around all day, and it was the most dead reliable car out at the track. Can you believe that? We were pushing it hard and its tires lasted, its brakes lasted, no check engine lights or anything, which is impressive because this isn't even the track edition of this car. I mean, look, you've got all this space in the back of the trunk here. You've got this loud license plate cover that they should probably settle down. But you're not dealing with the compromises of the track edition of this car. You're not getting the super firm suspension and sort of the interior stripped out. No, this is a very nice place to be in here. Spent hours in this saddle on the highway, driving around town, and it's just such a good powertrain. I do wish the transmission were a little bit smoother in day-to-day operation, and I don't mean the shifts, I just kind of mean when you're in sport or sport plus mode, is if you lean on the throttle, I'd wish for a little bit quicker downshifts. But I was impressed when we were out at the track and it sort of learned that I was doing aggressive track driving. All of a sudden the shifts held much longer than usual and kind of held gears through corners. I didn't even have to manually shift. It was just very natural. Just drive it in automatic mode. So let's take it out for a quick test drive here, sort of talk about its merits. This does have the optional Mark Levinson audio system. I'll be doing a separate review on that, so check out the link in the description if you want to hear more about that system. So I have to admit, I was a little bit turned off by this car when I first got in the seat. I'm not a huge fan of the steering wheel. It's very thick and chunky. It's got this almost like golf ball-like pitted texture. It'd also be nice if the steering were a little bit quicker. It's kind of a slow steering rack. It feels a little vague, but I also have to keep in mind that I've been driving an Acura NSX back and forth with this car, so it sort of takes a little while to adapt, and it's almost as though I need like a palate cleanser in between to sort of compare the cars. So I'll try to keep things fair for the Lexus. Lots of different drive modes in the RCF. You've got normal, which we're in now. You've got a sport, sport plus on top of that, and then also an eco mode. When you switch into that, instead of attack, you get this sort of eco monitor that goes back and forth depending on how economically you're driving. And then on top of all of that, you have a custom mode that you can sort of set a few different parameters for engine and suspension as well as steering, I believe. Double check that. But oh man, do I just love having a naturally aspirated V8 to just ring out. This thing, when it revs up to the rev limiter, up around 9,000 RPM, it sounds incredible. Let's see if we can. Now, this isn't something you want to do often, but just once here. See if you can hear how it sounds. Oops. No. So I guess it doesn't get up quite that high. Maybe it was only up around 8,000 or so. But it still sounds awesome to hear a V8 revving up like that. This is kind of like a luxury Mustang in the way that similar seat layout, 5.0 engine, revs pretty high, very lively. The only difference is you're paying a whole bunch more. Probably should have jumped in front of this Land Rover here because we're going to be stuck behind it for a while. Range Rover, whatever it is. Is that a Freelander? Even though I was a little bit turned off by the RCF when I first got behind the wheel, it sort of grew on me throughout spending time with it. There's still definitely a lot going on in the infotainment screen. I'm not a fan of this touchpad setup. I think it's clunky and not very intuitive. So I'm not a huge fan of the infotainment. There is also a lot of information going on in the gauge cluster. I understand that they wanted to have a little central or an analog tachometer because it sort of looks cool and stuff, but I've never once actually looked at it for my real speed. I'm always just looking at the digital gauge right in front there. So there are definitely some quirks to the RCF, but none of them are faults. And that's what I've kind of grown to appreciate about it, is you can just feel how well engineered it is, how well it drives, especially getting it out on the track, being able to push it around a little bit. It is a little hard to finesse with the traction control off. You have to really have a skilled foot to sort of drift it around and be squirrely with it. But for someone who just wants to be able to cruise long distances in comfort and then put their foot down and hear that awesome V8 roar, get them up to some very illegal speeds very quickly, RCF does a really great job with that. And I also like that it looks so unique. I mean, looks are subjective, and there are some people who just don't like the way the front of this thing looks. But I'd rather have a car be sort of weird and controversial than just boring, even if it's attractive. This car is just, it's almost German-esque in its ability to cruise along at speeds. When you think you're just going 50, 55 miles per hour, you look down, you're doing 70. And you're like, wow. It's just, the tires are a little bit loud at highway speeds, but the wind noise is very isolated, and just the confidence in the ride. You really don't feel too much in the steering wheel. Let's whip the car around here real quick. Great turning radius. And that sound just never gets old. I love cars that can either be loud or quiet. I think active exhausts are one of the best inventions of recent car development. Hop on the highway here. Confidence and capability all mixed together. So you hear how quickly this transmission is downshifting now? So even though I'm slowing down now from 90, it just feels so relaxed and capable here. So we'll go down to about 75 miles per hour and let you hear how it sounds. It does have radar adaptive cruise control and a mild lane keeping assist. So if we turn that on here, let's see what happens as we come around this corner. Yeah, let's see. So it'll turn the wheel once you get to a line, but it's not going to keep the car centered in its lane. So sort of the ping-ponging effect. So I usually have that off, and I just drive. So you hear these Michelin Pilot Sport 4S's do make a decent amount of road noise. That's sort of a compromise you have to make when you're dealing with high-performance rubber. the seats are just so comfortable. The interior materials are so supreme. Love this leather, everything you touch. No gaudy chromes in here, so that's nice to see. Nothing reflecting up in your eyes. Very comfortable, long mile cruiser car. You do get a lot of looks with this car as well. Most of that I think is attributed to its paint color. But the color sort of grabs people's attention and they're like, hey, what is that thing? So I don't think the RCF is very well known. You sort of have to explain it to people. So we'll have a separate track video of the RCF if you want to check that out. Put the link down in the description. What an awesome car. You know, it's definitely a little pricey. This specific one we're driving is $90,000, but they start a lot lower than that, and I really think that's where the value of the RCF comes in. And hey, if you want those options and you can afford them, that's how you want to spend your money, it's cool that they're there. All right. What an awesome car. Muscular, dynamic, powerful, great bandwidth. Been an awesome car to spend the weekend with. Really something that I think gets overlooked, and a vehicle that deserves some attention, especially on the used market as well. Thank you all for watching, checking out this video on the RCF. Like I said, check out the link in the description for the other videos. I'm Charlie from Daily Motor, and we'll see you on the next one. Drive on.